Oh no, King, don't die, you're too sexy. Hello there, humans of the world, I'm Dawn of the world. Welcome aboard. Today is what's going to be my first video of 2022. It is actually New Year's Eve, as you can see by my funky little headband, and this year I will be celebrating alone and sober. The party I was going to be attending has had over half of the people pull out, having come down with a case of the spicy cough that has been ravaging Sydney and the rest of the world for the past 2 years. Also, I've just done a closing shift alone in the department of the supermarket that I work in, and I have to do that again tomorrow, but I'm really not alone because I'm spending New Year's Eve with all of you lovely people. I have some drinks in the fridge and on my desk, and I might have already gotten started, so maybe I'm not sober this New Year's Eve either, and you know what? That's just fine. So you and me, we're gonna spend New Year's Eve together. We're gonna have a grand old time. We're gonna talk about One Piece chapter 1036. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I also want to thank you all for all of your exceedingly kind comments on my last video regarding my situation and regarding the hair that I have hidden under this wiggy. I can't believe that just 6 months ago I didn't even have a proper channel to speak of, and now I've just met so many amazing and lovely and kind people, and I would love to connect with you all a bit more. So sometime in the new year I would like to do a Q&A video. Please use the comment space below or at me on Twitter. Just use that to ask me anything. It can be about One Piece, it can be about not One Piece, just anything within reason, guys. And in return, I have a question for all of you guys. If you could spend New Year's Eve with one member of the Straw Hats, who would you spend it with and why? So anyway, let's get on to the chapter. Just as expected, we open up on a confirmation that King has indeed been defeated, which is crazy and incredible because King was a strong boy. And I really just want to mention this one fan comic I saw by Stack or Pancake on Twitter. Like, it was a perfect summary of chapter 1035, King removing his mask and standing there, the beautiful man he is, his sun-kissed locks are billowing in the wind, and then a very blurry Zoro just descends in and obliterates him. It reminds me of this one bird video that my cat was watching on YouTube once. Hang on. Anyway, so as King falls, we get a good old defeat flashback. I'm expecting Kaido's flashback to come in this form, actually, and the flashback is very short, but it feels like a punch in the gut and makes me feel kind of sad. We now have it confirmed that in Kaido's "looks like you couldn't be Joy Boy either" comment from a while back, the other party in question was himself. I wasn't making videos yet when this part came out, but Kaido's tone at this part felt regretful, disappointed. It's definitely not a snide kind of haha you're not Joy Boy, but he seems to have felt let down by the fact. It makes me think, did the Kaido of this era go through a stage where he figured he could have been Joy Boy, but then he learned the hard way that he wasn't? Maybe he even wanted to be Joy Boy, and when it turned out he wasn't, he began eagerly awaiting the one who would actually be the Joy Boy. There is a lot there. Kaido has said numerous loaded statements in 2021. I don't think I've ever been this intrigued by an antagonist's untold backstory. I can't wait to see what his story is, and I can't wait to get sad about it. Speaking of sad, or rather bittersweet in a sense, I loved seeing King's devotion to his captain and friend, which is strikingly similar to that of Zoro's devotion to his captain and friend. They say these parallel things about never losing again, so it's like a star-crossed fate has brought this battle to fruition. Our boy Zoro ends 2021 very strong in all senses of the word. The King of Hell. This has got to be one of the coolest panels all year. Like, look at him. What a champ. This is a very cool guy pose. He looks very cool. However, if somebody said this in real life, you would laugh at them. Okay, edgelord. Zoro is an edgelord. However, I would argue that every rivet in this edgy blade he carries everywhere he goes has been earned. Zoro gets away with saying this kind of thing because he is Roro Noah Zoro. And if anyone else were to say this, I would laugh at them. Elsewhere on Onigashima, the raid is still ongoing. Big Meme is having the time of her life, and good for her, bringing in the new year on a high. More on the CP0 in a moment. I just wanted to highlight this choice of dialogue here, that every win during the raid up until this point is meaningless as long as Kaido and Big Mom are still standing. What does this mean for the future of these two Yonko? Will both of them be taken down? I'd be kind of sad to see either of them die or be taken by the world government at this point. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of have gotten attached to them. I kind of like them both, you know? I would like to thank Oda for including these dialogues and narration. For someone like me who this late in the night and the year, or early as it now is, only understand things in abstract concepts such as deli meats and fine olives, visual diagrams and narration regarding the big picture are a big help. And yes, I did laugh at Fuga at this point. Just like that King fan comic and that bird, I love direct action. And on the topic of direct action, Usopp was a real MVP this chapter. I love Usopp so much. He is a fantastic and funky little man. He's surrounded by enemies and fire. He's screaming, he's shooting, and he has it all under control. It was actually really interesting to see a character in a Japanese manga have dialogue like this. For a Japanese manga, it felt very self-aware. The mindset of the samurai, and by extension the people of Wano, is something very much a part of their culture, which Usopp even outright states. This is something that goes beyond even One Piece though, as Wano is a completely not veiled at all version of Japan and Japanese culture, which even in this modern day is a culture strongly influenced by honor and with that shame, and traces of the influence of samurai practices and codes such as seppuku can still be seen in some aspects of modern life. In turn, these ideals kind of influence a lot of Japanese pop culture and manga, including One Piece itself. Characters can often be honor driven to a fault and even self-sacrificial for that honor. Just saying that makes me think of Bleach, for example. Many of the Shinigami are very honorable to the point where there are some battles where they could be like, this is his battle and for his honor, we should let him fight it and not intervene. And then the guy will die, but like he died with honor. If someone were to have jumped in and helped him, he may well have survived, but that would be shameful. Also, like everything about Hero Academia, I think. And both of those series, in my opinion, are pretty great. Now, I am not Japanese, obviously, and while I have spent some fair time over there and I'm quite familiar with the modern Japanese culture, I'm not really the right person to give a proper commentary on this. I've only really ever been there as a visitor, and now while honor and certain samurai ways of life are certainly aspects of what make Japanese culture great, on the flip side, every culture has problems and setbacks, and a lot of problems faced in Japanese society, I think, are birthed and stemmed in these very same concepts. So whether or not it's intentional, this is some very real social commentary by Oda, and it makes a lot of sense to me that it's Usopp who says this. For one thing, it's very in character. Not only that, but I don't think we've ever had a moment before now in which we've had Usopp defend or explain his mindset in such a way. Usopp has always kind of been a stranger in a strange land, literally at the moment, but not only in One Piece in general, but in manga and specifically shonen manga as a whole. From appearance to personality to strength, he's kind of the antithesis of the typical shonen cool guy, and it's rare to find another series that features somebody like him as a main character. While there have been times in the past where his tendency to run away hasn't been so cool, though admittedly he always comes back, and in Luffy's words, he is a man who always follows through. His very valid fear around being the normal guy on a sea full of monsters, and his survival mode has always been juxtaposed to this cool guy, if I die, I die mindset from Wano adjacent cool boys such as our resident King of Hell. But now for the first time we're seeing Usopp's clinging to life mindset juxtaposed against the typical samurai-like honor, and it's framed in a way that he's out there making all this sense, because there is instill honor in holding on and fighting for your life against the odds. A huge theme in One Piece is to live, and to want to live even when it feels as though the whole world is stacked against you. And in Usopp's case, he probably felt a bit like that growing up. Mundane as his backstory seems, he had an absent father, Usopp hate channel, and poured much of his childhood energy into trying to convince his terminally ill mother to hold on and stay alive, which didn't work. Of course, that's not her fault in any way. And from there, peaceful as his village life was, he essentially was on his own, fending for himself as a child. Why did no one take him in? I think a lot of his complexities can be explained by his seemingly simple childhood. He'll still put his friends' lives ahead of his own, of course, but when there's no need for death, then why die? And bravery is not the absence of fear, it's the ability to, even when scared shitless, to face that fear head on and to keep going, which he always does. I also like that after his monologue, the guy who jumps in and says "well said" is a samurai of Wano who spent some time abroad, and he's now bringing his guns to a sword fight. Evidently a very well-cultured man. Usopp is a very close second favorite character of mine, very close second favorite to Brook. Can you tell? I love him dearly. This chapter was a real mixed bag, getting us caught up to speed on everything across the board, which is great after a fair few chapters where the action was more or less confined to one scene. Excellent as Sanji and Zoro's battles were. You've done great, lads. Catch some Zeds. You've earned it. But of course, the time is now coming for the long-fought battle we've all been waiting for. Raizo versus Fukurokuju. They've been at this for a while now, and apparently it's now longer than Luffy versus Katakuri. Anyway, I'm feeling snacky. Is anyone else feeling snacky? I got snacks! Now I'm just going to quickly cover the whole CP0 situation because you know I've been on the whole Brook versus CP0 train, and I'm afraid to say that I'm not so sure that I'm there anymore as much as I would like to be. It seems like the mission to capture Robin has been called off for now for one thing, and for another the CP0 seem a little bit hella strong. I had something similar to a New World equivalent of the CP9 in mind, in which CP0 would be largely on par with the Straw Hats, if not slightly stronger, though given this agent was able to defeat poor Drake somewhat easily. Admittedly, he is a little injured and affords Drake the title handful. It's somewhat unlikely that Brook would be able to fight one of these guys one-on-one, though a joint battle is not beyond the realms of possibility. Brook versus CP0 made a lot of sense in the moment, we have to remember. Brook is the only member of the Straw Hats who hasn't faced a Cypherpole agent, and we got some CP0 right here. The CP0 are after Robin, who is unable to fight after defeating Black Maria, and oh hey, Brook is right here. Not to mention, this exchange made me feel as though a thing would happen. Also, Brook still hasn't had a proper fight against a formidable opponent during the Onigashima raid just yet. Great a support role as he has had, and a thing may still happen yet, but I'm just gonna, you know, wash my potatoes and wait. Also, that third CP0 guy from earlier in the chapter, yeah, I'm still wondering if he's actually in charge of this trio rather than the human-faced short one. And to round it all off, we get more of a little scuffle that's been going on between Luffy and Kaido. They're having a grand old time, a good bonding session to bring in the new year. Maybe the real joy boy is the boys we joyed along the way. There really doesn't seem to be a lot of the raid left. We have to remember that Oda teased that scene during Jump Festa the other week, so that's going to be really interesting to see when that will happen. That's certainly something we'll be seeing next. Sorry, it's this year now in Australia, it's 2022. That's certainly something that we can be excited for just this year. Anyway, what did you all think of the chapter? Don't forget to AMA, ask me anything in the comments. I'm going to be doing a Q&A sometime in the next couple of weeks, or just at me on Twitter. I'll leave my handle somewhere on the screen here. Otherwise, it's in the description below. I always put it there. And be sure to also like and subscribe. I'm Dawn of the World. Happy New Year, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.